Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Heidi's Lane. So today is a super special episode. One I'm very excited for, mostly because I feel like today is the day that in the midst of our limiting beliefs and our doubts, you listening to this, will realize that you matter, that your voice matters, and that each and every one of us has a powerful story, or dare I say stories, to share. And my guest today is going to teach us how to do this. So I'm here with an amazing friend of mine, Rachel Hanfling, who I'm going to give a proper intro to in just a minute after I talk a little bit. But Rachel has a gift, the gift of helping people embrace and effectively share their stories. And while she is a public speaking coach and master, the truth is what she does best is help others, and today you, understand how to powerfully and confidently communicate, whether in front of a group at church, maybe your kids at home, a friend you go to coffee with, or your audience online. They are all important. So if you are someone listening to this who struggles with feeling like what you say matters, or maybe you worry of what others might think if you share or even speak, then today is for you. Maybe you're that person in church who feels the prompting during a Sunday school lesson to answer the question or share a personal story that you know will help someone, but you don't because you're scared, so you hold back your light. Maybe you're the friend who joins a group of friends on a date and you stay silent the whole time, not because what you have to say doesn't matter, but because of fear of looking stupid. Maybe you're someone who's DM'd me who has a deep desire to start a podcast of your own, but many of you have said, why would anyone care what I have to say? What if I look stupid? So here's the deal. We all have a voice, you guys. We all have a voice that is meant to be heard, even you listening. And hear me when I say that the message you have inside is meant to be shared. And the fear that's holding you back is the same fear that threatens to hold me back. So today, we're going to talk about how to powerfully communicate. We'll talk about the fears that hold us back. And with Rachel's help, we'll learn how to overcome them so that you can speak confidently and make the impact you are meant to make in any group. So our guest has quite the impressive background. Here's the official bio. Emmy-nominated Rachel Hanfling is your guide to clear, confident, charismatic speech. A former producer for Oprah and Anderson Cooper. Yes, former producer for Oprah and Anderson Cooper. She's coached clients to become go-to media experts, land deals on Shark Tank, sell out on QVC, dominate worldwide speeches, generate explosive sales, nail workplace politics, and more. She's taught at Harvard, internationally, and across the US. She is the creator of Own the Power of Your Story, Shine and Power Your Public Presence in Media, On Stage and Beyond. Rachel is a graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She's a mom to twin boys and a dog in New York City, and she's here to help all of us elevate our confidence in communication of all types. Friends, please meet Rachel Hanfling.
Hi.
Was that the longest intro of all time? You just had so many great
beautiful. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you here. It really is an honor. I'm so glad everything worked out for you to come on at the time that you have, because I feel like I've had more messages and DMs recently about this, things and fears around communication and sharing their voice and owning their power. So to have you here is a blessing. Thank you.
I feel exactly the same way. And I can't wait to get to know your peeps through you.
So of everything I just shared, I want to make sure, is there anything I left out? Do you want to talk further about what you do, what you believe in, are passionate about? What did I miss?
Oh, gosh. Well, there's a lot I could say, but I thought what you said was beautiful. Maybe I should start by talking about why I even care about this topic.
Yes.
Should we start there?
I think that's a great thing. Why does clear, confident communication matter to everybody? Like, why should it matter to someone listening if they don't understand why it should matter to them?
Okay, we all walk through the world wanting something. And if you want anything and you communicate it in a more clear, more confident, more connected way, you are more likely to be successful in getting it and achieving what you want in a more meaningful way so that you can have impact
Yeah.
in whatever way you choose.
I love that because I have met people, and I think at times earlier in my career I was the person too who maybe was educated and skilled at
Mhm.
something amazing. However, my ability to communicate or their ability to communicate um, held them and me back from what was meant for me. So I completely get that. And then I see, like, I have 4 kids, and the ones who can communicate well and
Mhm.
effectively are the ones who seem to get everything handed to them. I'm like, oh, sure, because they know how to sell and ask for what they want.
Mhm.
So this really does this just apply to people who want to be on stage speaking or in front of a camera?
Not at all. In fact, what you just described is the typical person who comes to me. The typical student of mine is somebody who is really good at something else, whatever their career is. They could be a doctor, they could be selling toilets, they could be someone who's a professional cook. Whatever it is, they're really good at something else and they want to achieve more, and they know that if they can communicate more effectively, they're going to be able to do that better. So it doesn't have to do with how smart you are or how talented you are. Learning how to be an effective speaker is a skill like anything else. Any sport you do, learning a language, whatever it is you want to achieve.
I love that. I shared with you earlier
Yeah.
that I had this idea early in my career, before my career in this realm even started. I
Mhm.
remember meeting Chris, my ex-husband, and I had just this, it wasn't even a thought, it was a knowing, right? And it was a false knowing, but my knowing or my false sense of thought was he's meant for greatness. Like some people in this world are meant for greatness.
Yeah.
Not me, but he is. I'm meant to help him be great in front of the world because I just didn't know. And then as I started to see that I could do more, I still, for the longest time, and still to this day, struggle with belief. I remember I'd watch him speak and say, he's meant to speak. He's a speaker. He's a natural speaker. I'm not. Can you talk about that a little bit? What do you have to say to anyone listening who is saying, yeah, but Heidi's meant for this? I'm not. What do you have to say to them?
First of all, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. I think you are a wonderful speaker.
Thank you.
And so let's start there.
Thank
But
you.
I do hear what you're saying a lot. I hear, I'm just not built like that. I'm not one of those people that's meant to be on a stage or talking in a room. I'm shy. I'm an introvert. I have social anxiety. I hear all kinds of permutations of that. And it just isn't true. Anybody can learn to be an effective speaker. No matter how afraid you are, you can learn the skills to become somebody that other people look at and think, oh, that person's so great. I could never be that person. In fact, I would argue that anytime you see somebody, whoever that is, on TV or lighting up a movie screen or wherever you see them, and you think, oh, they're just a natural, I couldn't be that person, you should be thinking, oh, that person must have worked really hard to be that good. And if I work, I can be good too. This isn't just something that other people have and you don't. In fact, the reason why I even care about this is I grew up as a child who struggled to make friends. And I remember lying in bed at night every August before school would start in elementary school and just hoping and praying
Yeah.
that this would be the year that I would develop a circle of friends.
Oh,
Every year,
yeah.
I'd go back to school and it was the same thing. I
Mm.
was on the outside looking in. And even every time I tell this story, and I've told the story so many times, I come back to that place and I remember how much it hurt and how badly I wanted to be liked and to be a part of a group. So none of the kids at school were paying attention to me. I started paying attention to them. I watched what they said, how they said it. I watched their body language. I watched their facial expressions. And I also did something else. I started paying attention to this box that lived in our family den. And my mom and I would watch this box every night as we waited for my dad to come home from work. And that box was the television. And we would watch the news. And even as a kid, I probably couldn't articulate it, but I got that the newscasters were trying to do what I was trying to do one on one in small groups, which was to get people interested and get them coming back
Mm.
so that they would have some connection that would get deeper and deeper and deeper. And it took many years, but by high school, I found my circle of friends. And when it came time to choose a career, I chose a career that had been my teacher, and that was television news. So when I teach people that tell me that they feel too shy, or that every time they have to speak, they feel like they're going to throw up, or they don't feel like that anything they have to say is going to matter, or they don't feel like they have enough credibility, or maybe they need more training before they should use their voice, or I just hear so many things like this. I know what it's like to feel like when you communicate, you are not connecting. I know how painful that is. And then I've had the opposite experience where, as a producer, I was able to see that when people can communicate and they can do that really effectively, opportunities open up and they can truly make a powerful impact. And that's what I want for everybody listening and every student I ever have.
I love that because as you're speaking, you are like I'm just seeing that it and and I hope everyone is seeing. I hope everyone listening is seeing that this is so much more than standing on a stage and speaking. Uh,
Yes.
it's even more than what you post on social media. Although most of us post on social media, we're there. What if the ability to communicate clearly or be confident in our message
Mhm.
was something we could do, and just think of the people that we could draw in, and not that we're trying to draw in, but we become a light, right? Like that's how I think of it. When I can identify a powerful communicator, to me what it feels like is someone who's warm, right? And you're like, oh man, it's just you can't even explain it. There's just something about that person, there's something energetically about them that has
Mhm.
you wanting to be around them, to listen to them, to hear them. And I love your story from when you were a child,
Yeah.
because to go from being a quiet,
Mhm.
shy child to an Oprah producer, right? A producer on and Anderson Cooper, like what a huge uh, shift, like pendulum swing. You're from one extreme to the other, and now coaching people how to live their best life in that way.
Yeah.
I can speak to this, Rachel. So I and I when I started the show, I mentioned this to you the other day. Sorry, there's a bug flying in front of my face.
The bug
Uh,
wants to join.
yeah, it was actually Chris. It was his show, and I was just his fixer behind the scenes. I was like, I'll do anything to make sure this goes for you because I loved him so much. And what it entailed was me coaching the people on the show. behind the scenes. And then what that created was this thing that pulled a camera to what was actually happening. And that was so terrifying. I remember the first paid gig I had, which was like before I was just on camera. They hired me and Chris to do this thing. If I could pull footage today, Rachel, of me on camera, you guys listening, you have never seen or heard someone more clearly fearful, stumbling over. I was a deer in the headlights. I couldn't even read a teleprompter. I was so nervous. My eyes were just wide the whole time. If I can go from that to feeling comfortable and confident on camera.
Yeah.
Now I'm still struggling on the stage thing. So let's be clear about that. This is a journey for me. Me standing on stage is different. But the evolution is something where as I hear you speak and as I also hear my friends listening and their DMs and their messages to me saying, I could never do that.
Yes,
I
you
could
could.
never be good like you. That's exactly it.
Yes, you
I
could.
know through experience, you absolutely 100% can. There's a really great quote. And you kind of said something to the tune of this when we spoke before, but John Acuff says it, and I'm sure a lot of other people have many versions of it, but have the courage to suck at something new, right? I mean, because I can imagine the people coming to you, but you tell me, they're not expert speakers. What kind of people do you have coming to you to learn to speak and communicate?
So I have a wide range of people coming to me. I have some people who come to me who have been on camera before and they want to get better. Or they speak on stages and they want to get better. They're not achieving whatever it is they want to achieve through that. And then I have some people who literally don't speak up in a small group. I remember, okay, this should be a good story for anyone who thinks they are beyond help. I had a student a couple of years ago, and when she came to me, she would get back spasms if she was ever called on in a group. We're not talking about being on a stage. We're not talking about being on camera. We're talking about if she was ever asked, if someone ever said her name and she was asked to speak, she would get back spasms.
Oh.
And she came to me. She took my courses for, I think it was about a year. And she really worked. I can't teach anybody who doesn't want to do the work. It isn't something you can just learn by intellectually processing something. You have to put yourself out there and be open. And now, not only doesn't she have back spasms, not only doesn't she speak up in groups, but she's been honored in front of a whole gala of people. She leads groups. She gets paid to lead groups. And what I find to be the most thrilling of all is that she feels differently about herself. And because of that, she's able to help more people in ways she never envisioned she could. And that to me is the beauty of teaching people how to work through some of these fears.
I love that story so much because I can relate. And I think most people listening can relate. There are still to this day, I've overcome a lot of fears of groups, but there are still certain groups where when I'm sitting in the group of people that maybe I'm slightly intimidated by or whatever, like if I view myself as less than, right? So insecurities present, I think is what it is. The second it's my turn to speak or whatever I have, even if I know it could help them, I keep it quiet because there are so many thoughts that run through my head. I'm so busy managing the thoughts of insecurity in my head that I sometimes can't even hear what they're saying. And so, and I know I'm not alone in this. I know this is a very common thing. So for anyone listening to know that it's possible that you can be in a group, you can be in front of people that maybe, you don't know how to talk in front of, and you can actually fine tune that skill and be confident. Like that's to feel good and to feel free is amazing. So your friend that you just talked about.
Yeah.
Was it like a magic pill you gave her? How did this work? What'd you do?
I am not a magician. Although No, I mean, when you've coached people before, do you give them a magic pill?
No,
No,
not at all. It's
no.
work.
And you coach them, you nurture them, you support them through the ups and downs, but they do the work.
Yeah.
And it's the same with this. Are you still there?
Oh, yeah. So
Okay.
I should have warned you about this. So with Riverside, I might freeze.
Okay.
Guys, this is a new platform we're on.
Okay.
Uh, I might freeze, but it's still recording perfectly. So you're good.
Fabulous. Okay. Um, yes. Okay.
No
So where
magic
were we?
pill. No magic pill.
No
Thanks.
magic pill. There is no pill. I can't give someone a pill, and I can't help someone who doesn't want to participate. But if somebody is willing
Hmm.
to just inch their way forward, you don't have to inch your way in front of 1,000 people. For some people, it means just speaking up in a small group. I had somebody who was looking for a job. She had a very successful career and she's transitioning into a new career. And for her, success meant being able to go to a job fair and
Oh, I love this.
talking to people. And that isn't maybe what people would think when they think, oh, somebody's taking a course in how to be a public speaker, but that is her right next step. And she was holding back on doing it because she didn't feel like she could walk into that room. And then she did.
Oh, I love this because everyone listening,
Yeah.
we all have work, right? We all work, we have a career, whatever it looks like. It's different for each and every one of us. But that recognition that I just had is of what you said. How we communicate and present ourselves will indeed be the thing that gets us the job or doesn't. Like we all have so much value,
Yeah.
but our ability to communicate it or not can either get us that or not. There's actually a really good, you had, there was something you said. I want to find this quote.
Okay. What did I say?
Somewhere you said,
Yeah.
you told me the gap between where people are and where they want to go is all in how they present themselves to the world and how they show up. I love.
Yes.
I'll let you expand on it.
Yeah. I have no doubt that everybody listening is great at something. I believe that. How you present that is going to make the difference in whether you get a job. And I'm not even talking about it could be a volunteer job. You know, it doesn't have to be a paid job. How you get a job, whether you get promoted, whether you get clients or students, if you're an entrepreneur, if you can promote a cause that you feel passionately about, the amount of impact and influence you have is directly correlated to the way in which you communicate it. And that is what's so exciting. I think of communication as the greatest game that was ever invented because you can make huge leaps. And even if you make a small change, saying a word differently or shifting your voice or your body language or your energy, a small change can yield huge results in you whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And
I love that.
there another cool thing is that often people will come to me for one reason, like, Rachel, I'm delivering a keynote. Can you coach me? Okay, great. Then I coach them. And what they realize is what they're learning to become a better speaker on stage might help them at home when they're dealing with their teenager, for example. I don't profess to be a coach on how to deal with teenagers, but my kids are much younger and I do not profess to be an expert there. But when you learn how to communicate more effectively in one way, you can't help but use the skills that are helping you so much in other arenas.
I love that. Okay, in just a minute, I want to get into what some of the keys to effective communication are. But before we do,
Yeah.
I want to tie a bow on the the things that stop most people from wanting to speak.
Okay.
And I know you listening, anyone listening right now, is I want you to think like, what are the things that cause you to not raise your hand and speak, or to not take on the offer to go talk to a church group or whatever it is? What holds you back? And Rachel, I'm curious, what do you find stops most people from sharing their voice?
It's similar, yet it shows up in different words, different permutations. I'm shy. I'm just not that kind of person. I'm not talented like that. I'm not smart enough. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What are people going to think of me? See, it's similar, but it's not exactly the same thing. Maybe I'm not credible enough. Maybe I need to learn more before I speak. Maybe nobody will listen. It's usually in that bucket
That
of
realm.
feelings that comes out in different ways. And
As
actually, the number one question I get is how to get rid of public speaking nerves.
Ooh, and what's the answer to that? Because you need to know, of those things you just said, a handful of them pop up for me. Like a big one, and I've shared it on this podcast, is why does what I have to say matter? Like, does it even matter? Like, I'm just Heidi, right? And in front of people, I am not skilled enough compared to other speakers. They're going to be able to see right through me that I'm not meant to be here. It's a deservedness, a worthiness thing. I mean, I don't know that anyone would notice that when they watch me, but it's something I have to overcome as I'm up on stage or whatever. So what is the number one thing?
Well, first of all, you can feel that fear and
Yeah.
do it anyway.
Hmm.
Having
Yeah.
that fear is really normal. I have felt that fear. I was a behind the scenes person for 20 years, helping other people be great in front of a camera. I had never given a speech or been interviewed myself. So I had that shift as well. Everything you're describing is normal. There are many different tricks, many. We could spend hours talking about how you can overcome the fear of getting up in front of people. What I tend to go to first is when we are afraid to put ourselves out there. We're stuck in our own head and we're stuck in our own heart. We're stuck in our fears. We're stuck in our insecurities, whatever they look like. So we're thinking about ourselves.
Yeah.
If you think of any time you're speaking, and this could be to one or to millions of people, if you think of that like you're giving a gift to those people and it's about them, it's not about you. What do they want? What do they need? What do they care about? What don't they even know they care about? And how can you deliver whatever it is you're saying, like the biggest, most beautiful gift that is exactly what they wanted and didn't even know they wanted? Then you are going to, first of all, it's going to be really hard to think about how scared you are. And you're going to make everything you say about them.
I
That
love
is
that.
the first thing I tell people.
That's awesome. One of the things that helped me with a shift in speaking and even going live, like obviously the past 4 years, a lot has been more virtual, right?
Yeah.
And I was really nervous in groups, but actually one of the things was a connect with God, right? And saying, okay, this isn't, sometimes I would go on a roll and say things and I'm like, I didn't say that. I didn't even know that, right? But it's because I would say, okay, what am I meant to share with the people listening? Like, what do they need? Let me make this less about me and more about them, because I do find if I'm being honest, I've shared this before, in a space like I'm in, where I'm here helping people, there's a lot of us helping people. It's easy to allow ego to get in the way and care more about how I sound or how I look, when really I have a platform and I'm here to help people. So just setting myself aside and saying, it doesn't matter. They're here and they're listening. They're open and they're hoping I have something beautiful to share. And so allowing that to be my focus has helped me. So I appreciate I'm on the right track there.
You're definitely, any successful person, you can't assume that they have no fear.
Yeah.
They do. They're just showing up anyway. And actually, I realized we were talking about the whole emotional component, but sometimes it's also the physical component. Like, I don't like the way I look. I'm whatever. I don't feel comfortable about my appearance for one reason or another. And the bottom line is, most people are not looking at you the way you think they might be looking at you. Of course, there will always be people that maybe are not the kindest, but for the most part, I think audiences are going to give you more grace than you think they might.
One of the best uh, tips someone gave me, or little truths, I'll say, it was before I spoke once, and they said, everyone in the audience,
Yeah.
like you're Heidi, you're in your head. You need to know that every single person sitting in that audience or the church group that you're teaching to, every single person is more concerned about how you are viewing them than they are about what you are actually saying to them.
Yeah.
Like they're sitting in the front row, second row, going, oh my gosh, the person speaking is looking at me. Am I giving the right? Like we are all inside of our own head. And once that sets in, and you can actually understand that because when we're seeing it, we're doing the same thing. We're in our own heads.
Yeah,
It does release a lot of the fear, at least for me to speak.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the beauty really comes from inside and how you share. It doesn't come from your physical body. That isn't what makes someone a super compelling speaker or the kind of person somebody wants to be around. It's who they are and how they show up in the world.
Yeah, you had said something to me the other day that I loved, and you said, gosh, I don't remember your exact words, but
What did I
it,
say?
you said so many great things, but it was something to the tune of there's no set mold. I don't think you use these words, but no set mold for the perfect speaker.
No.
Like each person in their uniqueness is what makes you a great speaker, right?
Yes. So I approach helping anybody trying to ex- um, make them the very best person they can be when they show up and they open their mouth in front of people. Nobody nobody's going to be successful trying to be a carbon copy of someone else. You want
Amen.
to be the best person you can be. And that's what people are going to connect to. So I kind of think of it like in any interaction, people are thinking, okay, do I like this person? Do I trust this
Hmm.
person? And if you're there to make some kind of an impact, can this person help me?
Hmm.
And they're not actually going through these boxes, but that's kind of the sequence of events that's going through their mind. And you have to be someone people are going to like and
Yeah.
trust before they ever want to listen to what you have to say.
And if you're going to be someone that people trust, you
Yeah.
have to be in truth, which
Mm-hmm.
means you take off, this is something I've learned. You got to take off the mask, right? Of what you think you need to be, that carbon copy you were just talking about, and allow the real you to shine through. I know in a lot of our groups, that's a huge thing that I try and help women with is when you're here. This is the one place you can be where you don't have to be what you think you need to be enough. You get to be who you really are with your mask off. And what I think is so beautiful about that is when you actually put who you really are out there, you tend to attract more people,
Yes.
right, than you would otherwise. And then you have a base for powerful communication. Now, I know authenticity is kind of a buzzword,
Yeah.
right? And I know you had mentioned that being authentic is not enough. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Okay. So, first of all, I believe in being truthful and I believe in being honest, and everything I teach and I believe is that is a foundation of. However, or not a however, it's an and not a however, it's an and. When people think, oh, I'm just going to show up and be my authentic self, there is a more effective way to go into a situation where you're trying to achieve a result and still be who you are, yet be clearer, be more compelling, be more succinct. And by doing all that, you're honoring yourself because you're showing up as the best version of you, and you're honoring your audience. So your audience is more likely to be receptive of you. So, yeah, you want to be real. You always want to be real, but you want to be the best version of real. And when I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about when you're talking to your friends or you're in therapy or something like that. I'm talking about when you're communicating to achieve a desired results. Does that make
I
sense?
love that. 100%. So what I've learned, I'm very long-winded. Very long-winded. And I've learned you only have so many seconds, I would say minutes, but it's really you only have so many seconds to hook someone
Yeah.
and have them deciding whether they want to listen to you or not.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's all honest, it's all truthful, it's all authentic. And I've realized that sometimes I need to trim the fat because
Yes.
there's a lot. I remember we would do pre-interviews for certain talk shows.
Right.
And the pre-interviews were so long. They'd be like, okay, so what is your answer to this? And we'd go on and on and on. They're like, great. What you just said in 5 minutes, you have 2 sentences. And we're like, what? And so it was like, you sometimes, I'll speak for myself. Sometimes it's like, man, but this is so good. And they're really going to need this thing. But too much can really push people away and lose them to where they're never getting the full message of what you're wanting to share.
Yeah. Too much can push people away, and too much doesn't only mean duration. It can also mean too many thoughts, too many different things. Because when we care about something, we tend to know a lot about it, and then we want to share all that stuff. But what is the most important thing, or maybe the couple most important things that you can share with your audience? So your audience will be thinking, I want more, instead of, are we done yet?
Yes. I do. I feel like I need your training, Rachel. That's what I feel like. I feel like this.
I do. If I had to venture to guess what people, well, I don't want to speak for other people. I can say that what I love about listening to you is you show up and I believe you. I don't feel like you're manufactured. I feel like you're real, and that is why it's so compelling to listen to you. And that's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like everything I've done is maybe a little unorthodox in the way that I've approached it. But there are times, especially as I'm listening, I am the first to say, wow, this is actually training that I could use. And so there's a part of me that's like, I want to work with you, Rachel. I want to work with you.
Anytime you want to work with me.
I love it.
It is such an exciting thing to help a person have so many thoughts, and they're not exactly sure what they want to say first, or what they want to, or if they want to include something, and maybe they're having trouble organizing it. And then when you see somebody really know, okay, well, here's what I need to say, and it's almost like knowing what buttons to press to achieve the outcome. And when someone hears that, sometimes they think, oh, that sounds like manipulating, or that sounds fake. And it's none of that. It's just showing up as the best you and having the best you come out of you, so that you can serve more deeply, help more people, impact more people. And those are amazing things.
I love that. I love that so much. So there are people listening right now, like me, right? As I'm listening to our conversation, I'm like, wow, I want more, right? Or for someone listening who still has not, like, I would beg to say that everyone listening has something inside of them, has creation inside of them, like that fire, because creation, it is like fire, right?
Yeah.
And we know what we want to do. Maybe we've declared what we want to do, but there's so much fear holding us back. I'm going to give you a personal example. In 2020, actually at the end of 2019, my goal, I felt like I had really done well at teaching myself, or being taught, not teaching myself, many people were a part of it, how to present on camera,
Yeah.
which was a huge victory.
Yeah.
But the idea of being on a stage was so scary to me, or putting together a speech from start to finish was so scary. So I had said, 2020 is the year. I'm going to get a speaking agent. I'm going to get on as many stages as I can, and I'm going to conquer it. I'm going to figure out how to conquer this fear. I'm going to become a good speaker, because we all know it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at anything. You just have to practice. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit, there was a part of me that was so happy it hit, because it meant I didn't have to be uncomfortable and get on those stages, because it's discomfort. We grow when we are uncomfortable. When
Yeah.
we're, and I've been sitting for 4 years not really getting on stages and being comfortable there, right? So there are people listening, to anyone listening who knows they need to do more. They're meant for more. They have a story to share in any capacity, but they're waiting to put themselves out there. What advice do you have for them?
Honestly, if people take one thing from our conversation today, I hope they begin to believe that being a great speaker in whatever forum they want, it could be showing up at your community center, it could be at the PTA meeting, it could be anywhere, it that is possible for them. It, I promise you, with the right training, the right practice, you can learn this skill. Just like you might say to yourself, well, gee, I want to learn how to knit a sweater this year or something. You wouldn't like go buy knitting needles and all of a sudden know how to knit a sweater. You'd have to learn. And it's the same exact thing. So that's the first thing I would say, believing that it is possible. And then you have to be willing to inch your way forward to being uncomfortable. And it helps if you're supported along the way, so you don't feel like you are going to be like you want to know that somebody is helping you figure out how you can get better. So let's start with the first thing you should ask yourself before you get in any situation in front of an audience.
I love it. What is that? What should I be asking myself?
Okay, usually you're inside of your own head thinking, I hope I don't screw up.
Yes.
I hope people like me. All these thoughts in your own head. Instead, ask yourself, how do I want my audience to feel in this interaction? By interaction, I could mean one-to-one or in front of, thousands, millions of people. In this interaction about themselves, in their place in the world, when they're with me, and when they leave me. And if you shift that, what were you going to say?
I just said I love that.
Yeah. Because if you think that, if you go into it thinking, how do I want them to feel? Then you're already in the mode of giving people that gift that I talked about earlier. And if you notice, I'm using the word feel, not the word think, because people are going to decide if they like you based on how they feel about you.
And isn't then that quote they say, at the end of your life, people won't remember what you said or what you did. They'll only remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
I love that.
And do I feel good around you? Do I like being around you? Do I feel good about myself and how I'm showing up around you? And we know how that is. Like, you can just feel in your gut if you feel good in a certain environment with certain people or you don't. and you want to be around the people that make you feel good. So you don't have to have a speaking engagement booked to do this. You could, for the next 7 days, say to yourself, okay, anytime I get in front of someone new, or it doesn't even have to be someone new, I'm going to say to myself, how do I want this person or group of people to feel in this interaction with me? And
I
if you
love that.
notice, I actually said that earlier. I said, I hope everybody listening to this podcast walks away feeling like they can be.
I love that. Okay, so this is a mini challenge that Rachel is giving to every single person listening. So mini challenge for the next 7 days. Maybe say that one more time, just for anyone who wasn't.
Okay.
For the next 7 days, what are you challenging? And then what's the promise on the other side of this? After 7 days of doing this, how should they feel?
Okay. So for the next 7 days, anytime you go into an interaction with one or many, it could be people you know or people you don't know. It could be customers, clients, students of yours. It could be your family, whoever that is. You're going to say to yourself, how do I want to make my audience feel when they're about themselves and their place in the world, when they're with me and when they leave me? And usually when people answer this question, it's something like, I want them to feel good about X, or I want them to feel hopeful, or I want them to feel possibilities. I haven't heard anybody say, well, I want to go into an interaction making people feel some kind of, yeah, right? So you're going to figure out what that is, and you're going to go into your interactions for the next 7 days trying to make people feel that way. And the promise is it is naturally going to make your interactions more successful. If you're going into them, I'm not saying every interaction is going to be successful. That isn't perfect, isn't the goal. But if you go into it with this question in mind, your interactions are by default almost going to be more successful. And who doesn't want that? Better, more meaningful connections?
Yes. Well, what I hear as you explain this challenge is we're essentially going to be going into communication without the blinders on. We're going to have an intention, like a goal, right? And that goal is feeling based. And for anyone listening to the podcast who's listened before, I've talked a lot about intentions and goals. And so taking that concept and bringing it into conversations, I love it because you're clear.
Yes.
That makes sense. As you're speaking, you're kind of trimming the fat, right? As you're speaking, like, okay, wait, does what was popping to my head, does that achieve, or is that in line with my intended goal of this? Is that going to make them feel good, or is this going to hurt them? Okay, we're going to leave that out, right? Is there potential?
Yes.
So you're kind of, it's like a filter, right? You're filtering. Yes. I love it. I love it. Okay, so everybody, I challenge you to do this. DM me or email me or find Rachel. Rachel, for anyone who wants more, I know you have an awesome free video. Can you tell them, and we'll put the info in the show notes, how can they get that? And what's this about?
Okay, so if your interest is piqued in becoming a clearer, more confident, more connected speaker, which is my hope for all of you. Oh, goodness gracious. And apparently my dog thinks so too. Okay, who wants to meet her? Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Sorry folks. She's old and she gets nervous sometimes. Okay. If you want to be a clearer and more confident and more connected speaker, you can go to my website, rachelhanfling.com, RACHELHANFLING.com/5 minutes. And there'll be a 5-minute video for you to learn more about how you can do just that.
I love it. Okay, you guys, free video.
Yes.
I'm going to put the link in the show notes, but just to say it again, rachelhanfling.com/5 minutes. That's it. Did you
Yes.
find
Yes.
okay, perfect. So that is it. Now, Rachel, before we go, what is one final thing that's on your heart that you feel like the people listening need to hear today?
We all, every single day, I'm trying to show up better. This is what I do for a living, but every single day I'm assessing the way I communicate, and I'm thinking about, gee, maybe that didn't go so well. How can I do that better next time? Because I know the power of being an effective communicator, and we all have the power to communicate more effectively. And the more you can do that, and the people you see are best at it are doing it all the time, the more you can do that, the greater impact you can have on the world. And we all want to make a positive impact on this world. We only have a certain amount of time here, and you want to make it count.
I love that. That's so good. There's a John Acuff quote. I was actually trying to find another one. I found this one, and I love it. The quote is this, and I want everyone to hear this as we close. The scars you share become the lighthouses for people who are headed to the same rocks you hit. So the scars that you courageously are sharing and letting the world see, that just might be the thing that
Yes.
shines a light on someone headed for the same destructive path, down that same destructive path. So get over yourself. We all need to get over ourselves and share our light with the world. And Rachel, I've loved every minute of this conversation because I feel like this is going to be the thing that someone, even if it's one person, but I have a feeling it's a lot of people, if even one person was motivated by this to finally start that podcast.
Yes.
Or to finally get up and speak in church or community group.
Yes.
Right? Then I will consider this a huge success.
Me too.
I really appreciate
There are so many good people with so much to give that are holding back because they're afraid to speak up. And what a loss that we're not hearing from them. And what a gift if we could start to.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And everybody listening, friends, thank you so much for listening. Go find Rachel. What are the best ways to find you?
The best way to find me is through my website, rachelhanfling.com/5minutes. When you sign up to get the video, it will allow you to communicate with me. If you reach out to me, I will respond to you. So, and I love it when people reach out to me.
Perfect.
So
thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody else. I love you. I hear you. I see you. And until next time. Mwah.